Welcome to the Four Rooms podcast, where we explore the four rooms of entrepreneurship: health, wealth, scale, and relationships. Each episode is dedicated to opening new doors and uncovering insights that empower you to design your entrepreneurial journey to be both lucrative and fulfilling. And now, your hosts, Amber Spears and Brett Kaufman.
All right, welcome to the Four Rooms podcast. Today we're here with Manny Jew from Maripost. I'm actually very excited about this one because Manny and I have been just every time we collide at events or anywhere we find each other, we end up going into a very deep conversation.
Yeah, we do.
I love it.
It's fun. I agree.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. You guys have come on as sponsors and just so incredibly grateful for you guys for investing in us. And such a right fit for our community because we have so many people that rely on email to really grow their businesses. Right. So I'd love to chat with you about a couple things. You know, how did you come to be at Maripost? What are all the changes that you've seen from a company? I mean, you've been there almost at the very beginning, watching the growth of it. And then I'd love to hear too, with all these current email changes happening with like Gmail and all these other things, love to hear your thoughts on those changes and also why email continues to have this longevity in marketing. So,
definitely.
Would you be down to just jump in?
Sure.
A little bit about you and about how you got pulled into the crazy adventure of Maripost. And we'll go from there.
Yeah. I've been a professional email marketer for, over 18 years. And like everybody else, I thought email was just spam. And then I kind of fell into email marketing by accident, like so many other people. It's like you don't go to college and say, I want to be an email marketer. Right. Nobody ever does that. I don't even think they even offer that degree. Right. Yeah, I got a bachelor's in email marketing, right? Everybody falls into it. And usually they give email marketing to the intern, right? So I stumbled into it because I was looking to move out of the San Francisco Bay Area where my wife and I had been for like 20 years. And so there was a job in Portland at a email service provider. So like, sure, and so I went there and got hired on, and it was great because they had some of the best clientele. I mean, they had like Aeropostale, Macy's, Avon, HP, Hotwire, name all these ones. So I got a chance to be trained by some of the best in the business with some of the name brands in the business too. So that's how I got started in email marketing. And then I got started with Ross actually through a mutual introduction. There's Skip O'Neill. He's one of the most famous names in the annals of email marketing. If you're an OG, right? Everybody knows Skip. He was like employee number 6 at Exact Target. Okay, got it. Right. So everybody knows Skip. Ross knows Skip. I know Skip. And then
Ross is the CEO and founder of Maripost.
Maripost. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ross Paquette is the CEO and founder of Maripost. Ross actually started off in the email business himself. He worked at, I think it was Campaigner. I'll have to check my facts, but he was in the sales and he was like the top producer time and time again.
Of course.
But Ross, like every entrepreneur, has this thought at the back of his mind that says, I'll bet I can do this better. I bet I can do this better. Right? That drives every entrepreneur, right?
Drives me.
Right. That, yeah. And so he did. He bootstrapped Maripost on his own dime. However, there is a story of serendipity that is the story of Maripost. So Ross knows it from the business side of it, from the sales side of it, but he's leaving and he needs to build Maripost as a platform. So he goes on the Upwork and just puts a job ad listing. And there's this dude in India who is working for another company and is just looking for a part-time gig. So he sees Ross's ad and he says, okay, so he answers it. They have a conversation, sight unseen, they just hit it off. So Ross hires him. And so Jagdeep Singh is the co-founder of...
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's the co-founder of Maripost. So he's like the Wozniak
Got it.
to Ross being the Jobs.
He's like the technical co-founder.
There you go.
Got it. Okay.
Right. When I see Ross and Jagdeep, they are so much like Jobs and Wozniak. I mean, so cool. archetypical just personalities, right? And so that's how I did. So I got hired in very early on. I've been there with over 8.5 years. They needed somebody to help guide the product side of it, right? Because that's the thing, you're building a software product for email marketers, but you don't really know what email marketing is all about. So they hired me in to help guide the product. And so this is the funniest thing. So Ross is on the phone, he's talking to me, and he says, well, I'd like to offer you the position of Vice President of Product and Customer Success too. So, and I'm still on the phone like, wait, what?
What?
Customer Success, what? And because I've led product teams before, but I've not led customer teams before, but I've advised clients enough through the years. So that's what I did in the early days. I led both the product team as well as the customer success team. And, we could do that, right? Because our client list wasn't all that big, right? Because in the beginning, Mariposa was positioned as a boutique, high-end winery, right? We only produce a certain batch of wine.
Right.
But, it's good.
It's good. Yeah.
It's good. And you're going to spend $75 a bottle because it's good.
Right.
That was Mariposa in the very beginning. But, as time goes by, you change your business. You have to adapt, right? Totally. And so I adapted too, right? So I went to Ross and I knew that they needed somebody with skill sets who is better at organizational management. I was really more on the product side of it, right? So I understand products. I understand what email marketers need. I don't know how to run an organization. That's not me. I don't know how to, yes, I can manage people. So I can help people in their careers. I can help mentor them, but just, okay, I'm going to organize it, this way, or I'm going to organize it that way. So that's what I said, we need to hire somebody with a little bit more organizational skills. So stayed on at Mariposa. So I love the role that I'm in now. So it's more like as a consulting role, because you take these kids off the street and you yank them off the street to go on and say, okay, guess what? You're going to be a customer success manager. And by the way, your clients are experts in email.
Right.
And they're like, what's that? So that's my job, is to train them and get them up to light speed so that not only can they keep up with our clients, but also surpass them so that they can start teaching our clients about it. Same thing with software developers, right? Anybody can write code, but to understand why you're writing code and why you're doing it this way, you need that. And so that's the role I do.
So you're developing leaders now inside of Mariposa.
Yeah.
So when you first started with Mariposa, and I know that you can't share everything, but I'm curious, just so anyone watching or listening can understand the trajectory. I believe that Mariposa has kind of taken the wild, wild west of the internet marketing world and has been one of the first real businesses, at least in our direct response kind of world, that has really taken off. And I'd love people to kind of know, what is the trajectory? But when you first started, where are they at?
Sure.
Revenue, size, customers, and where are they at now?
Yeah, I think the customer base has grown 300%. I mean, it's gotten huge now. And of course, Mariposa itself has made some well-publicized acquisitions in the past years. They bought Neato, an e-commerce company in Australia. They bought Retail Express, which is a POS system in Australia. They bought Findify out of Sweden. And Findify, I think, is, in my opinion, just one of the best acquisitions I've seen that Mariposa make, because Findify is all about site search, site search optimization. And what do you use email for? To drive traffic to the website. Right. And so that's what I like about the technology of Findify, is that you can do all this machine learning algorithms on why you see the products on a website that you do. That's what they specialize in. Cool. So then you could take all that information and turn it into emails and say, why are you seeing what you're seeing in an email? And have that experience in an email be similar to what you've seen online. So you've got that nice, beautiful 360-degree flow. And I think retailers are especially intrigued about that. So I know Amazon pioneered that concept, right? People who saw what you saw this, and people who bought what you bought also bought this, right? And then I know, what was that company? Sailthrough, about 10 years ago, was pioneering that concept about hyper-personalization, right? Personalization down to the individual. They were doing it more in terms of content, right? So you're the New York Times, right? And you have people who view all this content online. You want to recommend personalized content for them. But I think retailers really embrace that. And so you're starting to see that show up in emails a lot more too. So your browsing history, your search history of a Find If I Track site, you're now going to be able to see that in emails too. So you get this nice flowing experience as it goes through.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And Mariposa is also making the same growth that a lot of other companies have done. They started out in a niche field of marketing automation, and then realizing that, oh my gosh, we're sitting on all this data. What are we going to do with it?
Right.
Right. So Mariposa has moved in the direction of the customer data platform. And a lot of other companies are doing that too, where maybe they started out as an email service provider or a mobile app messaging provider, and they're moving into customer data platform. Mariposa is doing the same thing too. So they're building out their own e-com platform, their own service platform. And so you've got your email marketing platform for all three of them. Gives you a really good 360-degree view of your customer. So now, think about this. Not only can you segment your emails based upon the emails that people have seen, not only can you segment your emails based on the products they purchased, but also on the support tickets that they've done. Do you really want to stay engaged with somebody who just is that ball and chain and just drags you down with all these support tickets?
No.
Wouldn't that be great to get?
Crazy right now.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great to get them out of your list?
Yeah, totally.
Well, yes, you can.
Wow, that's great.
So that's some good things.
I can think of a couple customers that pop in that I would
There
like to
you
see
go.
So I feel that's cool. And when you guys have all this data now with the rise of interest in AI, I know from a retail perspective, AI has taken the world by storm, but I know AI has been around in a corporate setting
long time. Yeah.
So I'm really curious, what is Mariposa doing from like an AI perspective?
Sure. AI perspective along three different lines. One of the ways is the classic use of AI, which is predictive modeling, right? I mean, retail has been wanting that for forever. So all these companies, right, they came into business doing predictive modeling. So definitely Mariposa does that. And so really the broader the base of the data set that you have, the better your models can be. So now you can take email engagement, you can take support history, you can take past purchase history, you can take browse history and put that into your predictive models of your customer base, right? So that's the direction that they're doing. And I think Jagdeep's very much involved in that. And of course, and then the Find If I team is much involved in that because that's really their business. Another area with AI is as I mentioned, in content, right? So now you can do hyper-personalization, right? Based on products that we think that we can be a little bit more proactive, right? Maybe we can recommend products to you that maybe you hadn't thought about you want, but based on the models that have been constructed, right? A good example would be a sommelier.
Okay.
Right? Your favorite sommelier, your favorite restaurant. Your sommelier knows this, has been watching you.
Right.
Knows what kind of wines that you've been buying. Not only that, but knows the people that you've sat down on the table with when you bought those wines, and also paid attention to the occasions.
And what you're ordering for food.
There you go, right? Like, a good sommelier knows all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. And so if you can take that and turn that into AI models, that's what I mean by now, as a retailer, you can start to recommend products to your customers and have that same type of understanding, right, of your customer as a good sommelier would have.
That's cool. I love that's a great analogy. That's really awesome. And then as far as, because I'd love to dig in a little bit. I know a lot of my clients, we're actually flying here and we're talking to Todd, the founder of Eagle Labs, and some other things. He was saying that a lot of his clients, and they have had the experience that since Gmail made this big change to spam complaints and filters, that they have really been struggling. And I've heard that from many people here in this room today. So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on the change? Why do you think they even made it? I don't think a lot of people, they've been talking about the effects of that change, but like, I'm more curious about like why they made that decision, and what their intention was for, besides punishing email marketers for that. And then how are you guys, on platform, on Mariposa, how are you guys mitigating, some of those effects?
Sure, definitely. And that was by intention, absolutely, because Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, all of them, they do not represent the marketer.
Right, of course not.
Because they don't make their money off the marketer, right? So that's the key thing. Facebook makes money off of ads. Google makes money off of ads, right? All of it, they get money. Email mailbox providers do not represent the marketer. They represent the person who owns the email inbox. So everything that they do is in the best interest of their customer.
Got it.
Right? And so that's why email marketers have been locked out on a couple of things, which is actually a good thing because it forces email marketers to get better at what they do.
Totally.
Right? And that's the thing. Email is so easy to get started. You can actually send emails for free, a lot of emails for free. It's so easy to get started, and that's the problem. Because it's so easy to do it poorly. Right? And so what it's forcing email marketers to do is up their game and do what mailbox providers have been telling them to do for the past 15 years, but they haven't done it.
So can you give me a couple examples?
Sure. A good example is to make sure, well, the biggest thing is to prove that you're a legitimate sender. That's what it all boils down to, because it's in the mailbox provider's best interest to make sure that only legitimate emails make it to the inbox. Why? Because for one thing, email is the number one vector for viruses and for scams and things like that. Email is the number one vector.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so it's in their best interests to do that, right? So they want to make sure that criminals, nefarious senders, it makes it harder and harder for them to get their emails read. So that's who they're thinking about.
God, that makes sense. They're protecting the end user and their inbox. Okay.
There you go.
That
That's
makes
what,
sense.
yeah. And so for the legitimate marketer, the challenge is, well, God, don't fit the profile then.
Right. Totally. Don't fit the profile of a scammer.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
If you're not a scam. Well, some of these guys, they're kind of like borderline, but yeah, don't fit the profile. You fit the profile of someone who's legit. Okay. So what do? These email authentication standards that Yahoo and Gmail said that they're going to require, they've been around for over a decade. SPF has been around, 15 years? DKIM, just about as long. So at Maripost, they always say, look, you need to do this. And so not every email service provider will require them to do it. But Maripost is one of the few that does. And that's one reason why companies do come to Maripost, is because their sending infrastructure is so good. Well, yeah, it's because they qualify. They don't let anybody on.
Right.
So this is a conversation that Ross, the founder and CEO, has. Do we allow people to sign up for free, like you can with MailChimp or with other ones, right? And he fights that because...
Know if you're boutique and if you have those standards, then you can't let anyone on.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
That's the core tenets of your business.
That's it. That's it. You don't want to just let anybody on, because at the end of the day, the IP addresses that you're sending the emails from, those are corporate assets.
Right.
Right? The last thing, it's like, say, an Airbnb, you get somebody to go and they trash your place.
Right.
Well, you're still stuck with the house.
Totally.
Right? And so, so what do? Airbnb, they're clean. One of the value proposition is screen, right? You screen the people that are allowed in. Same thing with Maripost. We screen the people that are allowed in. So we only allow legitimate senders. So what does that mean? Yeah, you got to do DKIM. Yeah, you have to make sure your SPF is set up. And now, of course, you have to set up the DMARC record. So what we do is we make it easy. A lot of guys, they say, I have no idea what DKIM even means.
Yeah, will you share? Here will know, right? Our group will know.
Yeah, so
Walk us through that.
Yeah, so all they are just email authentication standards that can't be faked.
Got it.
So there's a portion of the email, it's like a signature that gets stamped. Every email that's ever gets sent is stamped with a digital signature. And you can't fake them. So the software program that you're using to send the email out has to implement those signatures. And then the second thing too is that you have to, as a sender, you have to prove somehow, some way that this platform that's sending a message from this IP address has your permission to send the email from this IP address. Actually, that's why it all came about, because PayPal was the number one email brand that was getting faked.
Whoa.
Right? PayPal was just
makes sense for scammers.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Right.
Okay,
Your PayPal account has been locked. Sign in.
Sign in here.
So PayPal was one of the first in the industry to drive for this email authentication standard. Say, well, guys, we're just getting hammered. And so that's all you're doing. So the person who owns that sending email address, the domain name service, they have to go up and set some specific records that authorize this IP address to be sending emails on their behalf.
Got it.
Now, it used to be nice to have. Now it's gotta have.
Gotta have, or you won't inbox.
Exactly. So it's kind of, or they won't even let you in the door.
Wow.
So they'll bounce you out. So actually it's a good thing for email marketers. I think that's what the message I want to make sure is that, look, it just means that you got to up your game. You got to get rid of these, stop being lazy.
Right.
Get rid of these bad habits, make yourself appear as legitimate as possible.
Right, like changing, my favorite, one of their hacks was changing the front name from like your mom's feed or, your arthritic knees, like, you know what I mean? Instead of the company name, instead of being 4 Rooms Mastermind, it's like your looming PayPal or like your looming payroll issue, you know what I mean? It's like,
totally.
It's like those kinds of behaviors that get the opens.
Yeah.
But hurt the trust with the end user. Yeah. So I'm glad that those things are happening because I've always hated those like tricky kind of things. I don't think they make us better as an industry, and certainly it's not very creative.
No.
There's no art to it. Yeah. Right. It's like it just feels like you're trying to step one step in front of spam, catches and complaints. So I think that's great. What are some other besides making sure that you have all of these things in alignment? Like, what are some other things that you'd recommend that a brand or a company is doing with their emails? Sure.
In terms of content, I think copywriting is a big deal. And a couple of years ago, I developed on my own a customer engagement model that I think works. We've seen all these different customer engagement models. We've seen funnels. Digital marketer has their customer value journey. It's a map. I developed mine because my wife at one time was teaching autistic children. So she introduced me to the circles of influence. It was developed by the educator David Moore, and it's now taught to secondary education teachers as well as teachers who are training autistic children about social boundaries. And the circles of influence it's a series of concentric circles. And circles of trust. It's called the circles of trust. And at the outer level, right, is least amount of trust. So that's where your strangers are, right? Mm-hmm. And it's teaching kids who don't understand boundaries.
Right.
Right. And then at the innermost circle is where mommy and daddy are, right? So they teach kids that at different levels of trust, intimacy, there's rules. Of what you're allowed to say on the outside, and those are very different than what you're allowed to say and do on the inside. Mm-hmm. And there's rules for transitioning from one level of intimacy to the next level of intimacy, right? There's rules for becoming an acquaintance to a friend.
Right. Consent.
Exactly, from a friend to an intimate, right? There's rules, and you can't bypass those rules. You can't rush those rules. So that's the whole thing. So then I looked at it and I said, wait a minute, this is a model on relationships. Business is relationships. Mm-hmm. And I realized business also is based on trust. And so that's where I came up with the buyer circles of trust based on that. That's cool. So this is what I want marketers to understand, because I talk to so many email marketers who are so in a hurry to close the deal. Let's close the deal. Well, that's like meeting somebody on a blind date and saying, so what are we going to name our children?
Right.
It's like, come on now. Are you kidding me?
Totally.
Right. So what you want to do in your email, and this is what I want email marketers to, the big takeaway is when you're dealing with people at the very outer levels of trust, to move from one level of trust to the next, there is going to have to be a transaction. What am I asking for you? At the outer level of trust, maybe I'm asking for your email address, right? I was talking to another company that they want to set up sales calls. So they want your phone number. Well, what am I going to give you in exchange for your phone number? What's the transaction?
Right.
Right.
Something it has to be valuable.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
Equal or higher value. It must be at least. I would never give something of lower value. Right? No one would ever do that, right? You want to give equal or higher value. So if I want your email address, what am I going to do? So we talk about lead magnets. Absolutely, right? We talk about that. But the point is that but money, that's a lot of trust.
Right.
So how can you ask somebody for money if they don't trust you?
They don't trust you.
Right. And that's where so many email marketers fail, that they just want money right away, especially in the direct response area, right?
That's the whole model.
Right. Mm-hmm. So no, you can cultivate trust. Even in the direct response model, you can cultivate trust along the way, gradually moving them to the point that they'll buy. And I'll say, don't be in a hurry. If you've taken the proper time to cultivate the level of trust, they'll buy from you.
Totally.
Don't worry. They'll buy from you. They will, and they'll buy from you again. Don't worry. Take the time.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's great. It really is true. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I cut my teeth in direct response marketing. Well, I started in SEO, then I went to direct response, and since then my career has kind of evolved. And what I love about direct response is the principles of storytelling and getting them to take an action, whether it's opting in for, an email or a lead gen magnet or whatever. But I do think that the direct response world and the world of branding and taking care of the customer, they used to be two different worlds.
Yeah.
By necessity need to come together.
Yes.
Branding on its own is great for awareness, but it doesn't get anyone to take an action.
Yeah.
And you need to do that to grow your business.
Yeah.
But underneath that umbrella is taking care of the customer,
yeah.
right? And nurturing them and building that circle of trust. With the direct response marketers, like I see they're just pure direct response, you see that exact pattern that you're talking about. It's like grabbing the money immediately without the trust. And that's why the refunds are so high.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the chargebacks are so high, because they're not spending time developing the trust with the company or with the client. And then their business, they don't really care about the brand because they're just going to spin up another offer.
There you go.
Right. And so I do think that this has hit the direct response marketing world incredibly hard with these changes. And I do agree with you that it is a short-term pain that I believe is going to be incredibly important for us as an industry to evolve into the next level, because it doesn't feel good. And I'm just going to speak for myself. I know there's a lot of people who sleep very well at night, and they send a lot of spam emails and sell a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, right? Totally.
But I think most of us are aware that that sort of rushing behavior, wanting $1 today, is actually hurting our relationship long-term with our customers. So I just have a lot of respect for, Mariposa. We've been a client for many years. Yeah. We absolutely love working with Mariposa. We love your team. We love everything that you guys have built. And we love being in the group of elites where we are abiding by, the rules of premier brands to be on Mariposa.
Thank you.
And I think that's important, right? You could be on MailChimp, but then you're sharing, that same IP address and all this stuff with a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing or don't care. Yeah. Right. So I do think it's a good thing for our industry, although I do feel that constriction right now of revenue, right? I'm seeing layoffs. I'm seeing that, in the direct response world, there's a lot of struggle happening right now. But I do think that if we can take direct response principles and apply them to branding, direct response marketers are the most savage marketers there are. We have to teach them how to care more. And not to say that they hate their customers, they don't, but they've been so good at acquiring so many so quickly that it's churn isn't really a big deal, right? Especially if you're relying on email. But now I love to hear that, even though we're learning how to get better at it, that Gmail is forcing us to make these changes, and that Mariposa will continue to light the way in terms of quality, luxury, premier, a brand, a company really, as an email service provider. So I think it's great. So thanks, man. I mean,
thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, I love having you guys here.
Thanks.
What I want in 4 rooms is world class. And I was telling you guys that, I mean that. I want world class support for my community. And so I'm unwilling, I waited for you guys for almost 2 years, so I'm unwilling to add in another email company because I knew that they were not the best. And so that's what I want here. So, and I also want, people that I know, like, and trust being here to mentor, our community. And so I'm so grateful that you've taken time out of your day to literally sit in a room for 2 days and just give your insights. My friends at American Alternative Assets, they're just such great guys, and they came up to me and they're like, oh my God, Manny spent some time with us today and cool. Just caught this huge issue that was happening inside of our company that we didn't even realize with email. And now we're starting to realize that we thought we were, cooking on 3 legs of customer acquisition. We've been cooking on 1, and wow, completely open our eyes. And we would not have that experience. At least they wouldn't have had it if we didn't have you in here, right? With your expertise and your knowledge and wisdom. So thank you for sharing.
Well, and also on behalf of Maripost too, we want to thank you for inviting us in as to participate in this matter, because I remember we know that just as you are highly selective of people who join as attendees, and you're very selective of people who join as sponsors. Right, you don't just let any sponsors in. We know that, and so that's why on our side there's a sense of validation and we thank you that you recognize the value that we bring as sponsors. So thank you very much too.
It feels good. I mean, we're both very, like you said, we're about curation. Right, and I don't need to serve every entrepreneur. I want to serve a very specific type, and you guys are the same at Maripost. So it's a perfect fit for us. So thank you for being here. And I know you're about to go back into another room and serve a bunch more of our entrepreneurs in our room. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to have you. And thank you again to you and the whole Maripost team.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
As we wrap up today's episode, we have something special just for you. If you've been inspired by what we've explored today and you're ready to take your learning to the next level, then our 4 Rooms Mastermind live event is the perfect next step. And because you're a part of our podcast family, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your registration when you apply and are accepted. This is your chance. It's your chance to build relationships with other ambitious entrepreneurs like yourself, to dive deeper into the 4 rooms of entrepreneurship, and to connect with experts who can truly help accelerate your growth. Simply follow the event link in the description of this episode and use the promo code 4rooms10. That's FOURROOMS10 on your application to claim this opportunity. This offer is subject to application approval and it's limited, so don't wait too long to make your decision. Join us and transform your journey with the insights and networking that only our live events can offer. Thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you at the event and, of course, right back here next time on the 4 Rooms podcast. Until then, keep balancing and keep growing. If you're looking to get even more from the 4 Rooms podcast, you don't want to miss our exclusive newsletter. This is your personal invitation to join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are all about balancing health, wealth, scale, and relationships. Each week, we're going to bring you additional insights, tips, early announcements, and other information that we just can't fit into this podcast episode. Plus, it's a great way to keep the conversation going and ensure you never miss a beat in your entrepreneurial journey. It's easy to subscribe. Just visit 4roomsmastermind.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and enter your email. That's 4roomsmastermind.com, and just enter your email. We promise to keep things light, keep your inbox interesting, informative, and fun. Join the 4 Rooms community today, and let's grow together.